So, you mentioned you and Sonny both being, sort of children of the 90s and the Spotify playlist. And obviously, one thing people have talked about in the show is it's got these great needle drops. And I'm curious how many of those were predetermined and what the relationship was between the needle drops and your score, because I feel like they mesh really beautifully. And were you aware of what songs were going to be used? And were were you being influenced by that, or were the choices of songs being influenced by your score, or both?
A little bit of both. So from early on, yeah, I would say that initial meeting, uh, I knew what kind of things Sonny was going to be looking for and using in terms of the needle drops. And that's music that, it's my DNA. That's what I grew up on, and that's what I played in bands with when I was a teenager. And so, I would say like it, all of the songs weren't necessarily predetermined, but there was a definite kind of well of things which we knew we were going to be picking stuff from. And I think I was fortunate to also have the other aspects of my career that you mentioned, being a producer and a songwriter. And you know I was lucky enough to be able to work with some of those artists in my career. I produced and mixed a record with Bjork, and I know Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit through my own artist career. And so I think, we wanted whatever I created, we knew that it had to sit alongside these needle drops that were going to be there. And it had to obviously occupy its own space, but we also wanted to have fun with it. And we would joke kind of like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if like somebody's watching the show and they like Shazam it on their phone and it ends up being the score, but they think it's a sync. And so just kind of blurring the lines where we could.
Well, and one of the things that I think is so great about this show is the unusual tone. I mean, it's almost a hard show to categorize when people ask me what it is, because I don't even know if I would call it a comedy, even though it's very, very funny,
Yeah.
but it's also very painful. It gets very poignant. It's got a really unusual tonal balance. And to me, that seems like something that would probably be pretty thrilling and maybe challenging for a composer. I mean, how does that unique tone of the show inform your approach to the music?
Yeah, it really is interesting. Because it just kind of means that I have to write in a way where everything's kind of ready to pivot at any given moment. And especially like, so I tried to really, with this one especially, it was about just kind of boiling it down to like what are the key elements, and not, trying to have something that is something that's memorable, but also something that's not overly complicated. So, for instance, one of the main themes in the show is like just this clave motif that I came up with, and it's just dum 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 dum, and like that opens the first episode. And that's something that's really simple. I mean, it's a heartbeat, but it's this tension that never lets up. And it kind of, the whole show is that, we go through so many different emotions, but there is just kind of this underlying tautness to the whole thing, I think. So it was kind of building this foundation on which, then I could paint over that with guitar or piano or cello or whatever it might be, but just making sure that the foundation is simple and solid enough that it can be kind of malleable in a lot of different ways.